This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Mailbag on this Friday, the 13th day of June and 2025. Hope everyone is doing well as we go into the weekend here. Many of us have a short week next week with Juneteenth on Thursday, so if you have a short week, well, maybe attach a Friday to it and make it a 4-day weekend. Just throwing it out there, but a happy Father's Day also to all of those fathers out there. Hope it's a fun one. Hope it's a relaxing one for those of you who are, who are dads and maybe aspiring dads or dads to be. All right, because there's nothing like having that first kid. Because when you first hear that, somebody call you dad, it's like, what? Me? Right? It's a very strange feeling when you first get called dad, and then you just kind of settle into the role, and then away you go. So, happy Father's Day, but let's continue here into the Mailbag. I would invite you to join our Patreon if you want to go ad-free, patreon.com/WWE podcast, or you can follow us on X at wrestling_audio. We're right there for your needs or your non-wrestling talk or wrestling talk too. It's on there. You kind of get a variety of things on there to my detriment or benefit, sometimes both. It's on there if you want to follow or don't. There's that option too. So we have a couple of weeks now between the next PLE, 2 weeks actually, until we get the next PLE Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. A lot of talk about CM Punk and his involvement there and how he's a hypocrite and how he would never go there and all the rest. We heard the same from Sami Zayn before. We've heard the same from Shawn Michaels. And they all go. You know what? I don't fault them. I know a lot of people are, on their grandstands, on their high horse, I should say, and who are saying, I would never do this. I would never do that. I would never go there if I said I wouldn't, and look what they're doing. And nonsense. You're saying that because you're looking at this from a mile down view. You're not looking at this because you're actually in that situation. The reason is money. And you could also lay a little bit of professionalism on that as well. It's like, hey, I'm a wrestler. This is what the company needs me to do. I'm going to do it, instead of potentially screwing my own career and what they want to do with me moving forward by not doing it and standing by my own beliefs of why I don't want to go there. And I understand integrity. I understand saying you don't want to go, but you don't have to go and also compromise your beliefs. You are a part of an organization that is a worldwide brand. They have more of a strategic global strategy and vision and mission than Vince McMahon ever did. At least this is the most aggressive I've ever seen WWE when it comes to a global vision. And Saudi Arabia, with the massive amount of money they've put into the company and invested in WWE, have an expectation of WWE to deliver. And they have a lot of, I would imagine, high payouts for the wrestlers that perform on that card, and especially for the top guys. CM Punk would be leaving a lot of money on the table if he didn't go to Saudi Arabia. So you know what? I don't care. I don't blame him. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, I'm the moral compass or the moral overlord of who decides to go where. They want to go and go to an event that the wrestling fans in Saudi Arabia want to attend. So they perform for the wrestling fans in attendance. Who cares? He's not going there on behalf of promoting Saudi Arabia's political agenda. It doesn't have any effect on Saudi Arabia, whether or not a certain individual appears or doesn't. It's not going to affect their economy. It's not going to affect their political visions and all of the rest, because we know we're going to hear a bunch of propaganda in a couple of weeks at the Night of Champions event. They always have the, look at all the progress Saudi Arabia has made. We even let women drive. Isn't that great? We let women drive cars now. And we're all supposed to celebrate this. Of course, it's a bunch of garbage. I don't, a lot of the stuff they do, I have no, I have no sympathy for. I have no assimilation with. I totally agree with a lot of people's visions or beliefs and their feelings towards Saudi Arabia. I'm on board with that. But you know what? If we look at this as just a wrestling event, then that's how we should look at it. WWE entered a contract with Saudi Arabia that is longer than most of us would like, but they're an organization that's trying to make money, and they're making a boatload of it with Saudi Arabia. So I just want to put that to rest, that I don't care that CM Punk's going. That doesn't change my thoughts on him personally or professionally. He's doing what he's doing and what honestly is expected of him. That's what is expected of him as a contracted employee. That's rather, I should say, independent contractor, but it's still a part of his expectations when he signed on the dotted line. So, yeah, I don't have any ill will towards him. Now, the rest of his political beliefs, I have absolutely no, really, I can't relate to the rest of them, but that's beside the point. So, anyway, here we go. 2 weeks until Saudi Arabia's Night of Champions event. I also want to point out that I have missed the fact that King of the Ring has a SummerSlam prize attached to it. I had forgotten that. I missed that part of Raw. And so there's that. I know many of you emailed and said, hey, no, there is a prize attached to King and Queen of the Ring. So I concur with that. I missed it on my Raw review. So there it is. Yes, they have a King and Queen of the Ring tournament of which the winners will be awarded championship matches at SummerSlam. And I think that's a great idea. I remember applauding this last year, that there should be some kind of prize attached to it other than just pretending to be a king or queen for a few months and everybody altering your personality. I think this is a perfect prize for that. It's a perfect award to be given to the winners. So there, I missed that on Raw. Okay, let's get to your emails. Let's see how many of them there are. I know we have a few. We have a few today. Let's talk to Andrew from Flint, and he says, I usually keep these emails short, but I have a lot on my mind. Well, skimming through your email, Andrew, it's really not that long. Okay, so if this is a long email to you, then more power to you. Did you listen to Gunther's interview on Raw Talk? I think you would love the content. He states in the interview that he's not concerned with putting on a great match. He states that he's only here to win and could care less about the match quality. I really respected him saying that. Yes. I mean, thank you for giving me that insight. I actually did not see it on Raw Talk. I will take a look. I will take it at face value that that's what he said. I have no reason to believe you're giving me any kind of false information. So that's how every wrestler who's on the roster should think and outwardly speak. But that, in today's world, is considered a heel statement. That they're not worried about putting on a show for the fans. That's considered a negative. But what the fans that get mad at that statement don't understand is great matches should be a byproduct of the effort to win. Your effort to win as a wrestler in WWE should be your effort. Your main focus should be your effort to win. And if you have a great match, then so be it. Great. I mean, that can be your actual, kind of behind the scenes intent. I mean, that's the intent that we all know everybody has in reality, but it shouldn't be spoken on a microphone on WWE television that that's your intent. Because then it becomes your mission in fans' minds that you're just out there to have a good match. But if you win, you win. You don't, who cares? I just want to have a great match. I want to make history. I want to tear the house down. I want to steal the show. No, because that exposes the business on its face. That is not why we believe you are here or should believe that you're here. I just love everything about Gunther. I love everything about his look, his in-ring style, his promos, just everything. His respect for the business. That's what he's here to do, is kick ass and win championships. Yes. Now, not everybody needs to be a duplicate of Gunther. Of course not. You can have different varying ways to tell the same story, that you're here to win. You are here to win. That's what it should be about. All this other side stuff of making history and having great matches, and it's an instant classic, all this crap that comes as a byproduct of your efforts to win should be spoken about by fans and by the announcers. That's fine. The announcers can talk about that. The fans can talk about that, but it's not for the wrestlers themselves to talk about because it's an exposure of what they're trying to do. So I love it. Okay. You mentioned you've seen a lot of hate about Jay losing the title. I've seen a lot of people upset, but most understand. Jay has never felt like a world champion. This problem was only getting worse with every passing day. I'm a bit disappointed I did not see Jay and Seth feud. I really think and hope that they had for Jay's title reign was to make Seth his main adversary. They have had several title matches, though. I mean, if you remember back in May of 23, I think it was. Was it May of 23? I think it was. When Seth Rollins won the World Championship for the first time, he defended it a time or two against Jey Uso. Jay came close at the time, but didn't win. That's when the Yeet movement had just started. So it's been a couple years. But we have had that championship rivalry, not to the extent that you're looking for, though. If you're looking for a main multi-month intense rivalry, yeah, we didn't get that. But it's good to know it's in the back pocket of WWE that they've had a little bit of it here and there, but they haven't had a full-fledged rivalry where it lasts, from July to September or something like that. That hasn't happened yet, but it still could easily happen. And Jay chasing the championship again should be something he does. I hope he does. I don't want him to win again, at least in the short term. I'm not against him in principle winning again, just not right now. I think Jay needs to go on a bit of I don't know if soul searching. Soul searching would mean he's totally lost. He's not totally lost, but he hasn't had everything come together yet. I think particularly on the mic. Every time he talks, he's out of breath. And there was no better example of that than I'm sure some of you saw his post on air promo that he cut to the in-ring audience or the audience in the arena. He brought his son in and he was totally out of breath. And people are, talking about, I saw some comments about that and I'm like, well, that's how every single promo he has sounds like. Obviously it's a little more extreme when he just had a match, but I think he needs to erase that a little bit where he just speaks a little more coherently, enunciate a little bit better. He definitely needs to do that because outside of Yeet, he doesn't have much on the mic. He's got a ton of personality. In-ring is just fine. People are into his gimmick, but there's that something missing, and I think part of it is the mic. He needs to expand his ability on the microphone. There's no way about it. No two ways about it. He has to. And maybe tweak something here or there with his personality. Add something beyond Yeet. That would certainly help. But again, even if he does all that, I don't know if that'll really put the whole package together where he gets to a point where even WWE management accepts him as a world champion for a long period of time. All right. I'm seeing a lot of love for R-Truth turning into Ron Killings. Everyone is excited for him. I'm disappointed we won't see Truth in a comedy role going forward. Isn't that the entire comedy gimmick, the reason the fans passionately fell behind him? I may be alone, but I'm not interested in seeing Ron Killings at 53 try to take on a serious role. Well, it is a risk. I brought this up on the Raw review too. It's a risk to change course with a guy that has been really beloved by fans largely in part because of his personality on air, that it's beloved. He's charming. He's got that personal connection with the fans that you can't teach or design or draw up in a boardroom or at a production meeting. It just happens. And he's had that for 20 years. And to change course now, to cut his hair and he's suddenly Ron Killings more serious. I'm not against it because I don't know how it's going to play out yet. I don't know how fans are going to react. I don't know how the at-home audience is going to react because that will ultimately decide whether this is a success or not. I am also a little bit skeptical, but I'm willing to see where it goes. I didn't call for a change in his personality, but perhaps they're doing this because they have larger plans for him in the likely very short contract he has. I would imagine it's a year, maybe 2. That's my guess. For a guy at 53, you're not going to give him a 5 or 10 year deal, at least for an in-ring ability. I mean, I know there's Legends contracts, but I'm saying in-ring. You're not going to go beyond probably a year or 2. So he's here for a short amount of time. Perhaps they have a world title run in mind for him. I actually would love that. But I don't know if fans are going to gravitate towards a serious, more vicious R-Truth or Ron Killings. I don't know if they'll ever bring up R-Truth again. If they're going to bring up Ron Killings. We'll see what this is going to be about. I don't know how they're going to develop this character. A character that no one asked to change. WWE is just like, no, we're going to change it. It's like, well, no, we were chanting for the guy that left to come back, not this guy to come back and change. We never asked for a change. We wanted the same guy, but perhaps they're giving us something we don't know we want yet. Finally, I wanted to ask you a personal question. Do you think you would still be as passionate about wrestling if you did not operate the podcast? I've always wondered if a podcast has taken a toll and made the WWE feel more like a job to you. I work in broadcasting and understand how time-consuming podcasting can be. Thank you for the great content. Well, Andrew, that's a great question. I have thought about this, and actually, I've known, and I because of, I don't think he wants me to share, but there's someone I used to work with for a few of the review shows you've heard, and he has a great channel that has since, quote unquote, retired from producing content. He texted me a couple weeks ago and said, I'm done. And has had a successful channel and decided I'm done. And part of it is because of the time it takes to produce the content. You can't enjoy the way you used to just as a fan without thinking about, what you're going to say, how you're going to cut it. And then there is a job element to it that there isn't as a typical fan that just either consumes wrestling content like this, the podcasting end of it. If you listen or watch YouTube or whatever, there is an element that you don't have to worry about. It's just, you love it, you hate it. Maybe you talk about it on X or on Instagram or YouTube, whatever. But you just comment. You're not a content creator. It's easier to just sit back and enjoy the product and then kind of dip your toe in here and there and throw your 2 cents in. But you don't have that sense of watching the product with an analytical mind where you're just thinking to yourself, okay, how can I make this more interesting? What am I going to say on my show? I've been doing this now for 10 years. And I don't know if I'll be able to ever unwire my brain to go back to just being a fan. Does it take its toll? Yes, but I've kind of accepted that. There have been times where, I'm not going to lie to you, where I'm burned out of doing this. I love wrestling, but I'm just freaking burned out. And a lot of it has to do with, the rest of my life. I've got kids. I've got a house to pay for. I've got, just like everybody else, stresses. I've got a full-time real job, a big boy job outside of this. But at the same time, I want to be able to do this full time and replace that income, which it's hard to do when you've got all these other things pulling at you, and you got home repairs, and you've got drama, and you've got, we all know. I don't need to tell everybody. We all know these stresses. So to find time to do this while also trying to enjoy the thing that you're talking about is difficult, because you got to look at it through kind of a lens of not just sitting back and not really paying attention, and it's in the background, but no, because when that happens, then you miss stuff. And I do it all the time. Hell, I miss the King of the Ring thing. That's the stuff that I'm trying to pay attention to. But I'll be honest, there's weeks where I don't watch the whole episode of Raw because I can't. I don't watch the whole episode of SmackDown because I can't. So sometimes I'll just watch the highlights and I get the gist of what the hell happened. So it's taken a toll in the sense of, yes, sometimes sleep, which is very valuable to me. I very much value sleep in my life. And so I get that where I can take it, or take it where I can get it, rather. And podcasting, people think it's, you just hit record and you're done. It's easy. This is the fun part. The difficult part is editing it, posting it, and then if you have time to market it, which I sometimes very rarely do, it's not an easy thing to do. It's very easy to start. It's difficult to stick with. Anybody can start this, but it's difficult to grow and maintain. Very much. And I have respect for every podcaster, especially YouTuber. You get into video and it's another layer of time that I don't have. So that's why I've been I'm trying to do video, but every time I try, it's a start-stop scenario because it's just another layer of time I don't have. So I barely have enough time to do this. And I'm not tooting my horn. It's just the voluntary work I've decided to do, and it has taken a toll I voluntarily have taken on. And so if you're in broadcasting, Andrew, you know. All right, let's go. Thank you. Let's go to Darren. Darren says, so a pretty cool thing happened that I thought I'd share. I was at the Padres game on Tuesday, and Dom Mysterio was there to throw out the first pitch. He got a pretty loud pop, actually, and even more so when they showed him on screen later in the game. I hope he has a match at Survivor Series to see the crowd reaction compared to the last time he was in San Diego on Raw, when we couldn't even hear him talk how loud the boos were. By the way, tickets still haven't gone on sale for Survivor Series yet, other than some on SeatGeek and other third-party places. I will most likely be going, just hoping I don't have to take a loan out to buy them. Yeah, well, that's the problem. People are going in, like, financing their tickets. Yeah, and it's just, I mean, I understand the love for wrestling, but, you know, at some point fans have to draw a line and be like, nah, bro, we ain't doing this. It's like, no, this not happening. And until that happens, WWE is going to continue to see how far they can push it and find that line where fans are willing to do it begrudgingly. They can make the most money, but it doesn't suffer and hurt their ticket sales. They're trying to find that line, and they keep pushing it slowly down the field to see where the line can be drawn. So it's a bit of a struggle, and I hope you don't do that. But I'll be interested to hear about the Dom thing too. I mean, if you got cheered during the first pitch, I mean, if there's a lot of sports fans, MLB fans that are wrestling fans, there's a lot of crossover there. So I would imagine that's a bit of a precursor to what his reaction is going to be at Survivor Series. Fans are done booing Dom. They've had their fill. It's been several years now, and they're ready to embrace him. It's happening right now. Thank you, Darren. Okay, DJ. He says, just a quick reminder that after Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank, there's seven PLEs and live streaming at WWE events for this summer of 2025. Is WWE trying to ruin summer vacations this year? Absolutely insane. Yeah, it's too much. It's just too much. I know that they think that more is better. No, it's exhaustion. It's just too much content. You also don't have enough time to build storylines properly. It's just kind of like one after the other. Quick hit. I like once a month. Hell, I'd even do once every other month. I really would. But of course, I'm not in charge. So after edit 3 failed attempts to rewatch the replay of Money in the Bank due to my sleepiness and work schedule, I finally got to rewatch the PLE. I got to say it was a solid 8 out of 10, in which I got all of my predictions correct. Just a side note, I should have gambled. Well, DJ, by all means, go ahead. Be careful though. It can get addicting, and you could lose quick, as we all know. So, yeah, you got it right this time, but doesn't mean you're going to get it. You're going to go and do a clean sweep next time. It's difficult, but good on you. However, my only concern from rewatching is LA Knight. He was very close to almost getting the upset victory in the match, but as the saying goes, so close yet so far. This is the 3rd year in a row that LA Knight has qualified but hasn't won. A couple of questions to ponder. Has LA Knight reached his ceiling? Will LA Knight be just another mid-card guy? And do you think LA Knight could possibly win the Rumble next year? Well, I think since we're asking these questions, the same questions over and over about LA Knight every single year, I think we've got our answer. Has he reached his ceiling? I don't want to say convincingly yes, but I haven't seen evidence to the contrary. I think what will help LA Knight, if as fans we want to have any kind of impact, we of course could do a hashtag trend that goes viral. We could do that, but that of course is going to be, it would have to be a sustained viral hashtag to the extent of we want Cody. And I don't know if the fans could keep that up or even have any interest in doing that. Now, WWE may or may not respond to that. They only want to give us a certain amount of power, or at least let us know we only have a certain amount of power, because then they think that we'll just wield our power at all of our whims, that they need to adhere to all of our wishes. And they want to only let us know we have so much power, even though we actually have a lot. Look at what Triple H did with telling us that, R-Truth's return was part of the show. Basically trying to, as I went over, mitigate what power we think we have. Now, it may not be how much power we actually have, But to admit that we were the ones who brought him back would then empower us to continue doing things like this. And they don't want to give us that much power outwardly. But we have a lot. So we could do hashtags, but crowd response in person is going to be, it needs to be consistently at a high level for WWE to maybe consider moving him up. So he could be just another mid-card guy, but he's not a mid-card. I would say he's upper mid-card. Even, I would argue he's a top guy that doesn't have a top championship. Because LA Knight is a draw. Is he a needle mover? I don't know about needle movers are like Roman Reigns. You know, people that actually like a needle mover to me would be why someone does or doesn't buy a ticket. If you know Roman Reigns is going to be in your city, more than likely you're going to have higher ticket sales than if he was not advertised. That's a needle mover. So I would say LA Knight he's probably not in the category of needle mover, but he's just outside the door because people love LA Knight. And I'd say he's in the lower tier of top guys that don't have a top championship. And do I think he's going to win the Rumble? Right now, no. But again, he's in the conversation just like years past. He's in the same position he was even like last year and the year before. I would say he's in the conversation to be considered a reality, like a real winner, but I don't think he's in like the top 2 or 3 choices at this point. Again, Rumble, my God, we got 6 months? And is it in February of 26 now? Didn't they move it to February? Feels sacrilegious. Now on to Ron Killings. I was a bit confused when he appeared and attacked Cena at Money in the Bank, because I think most of us would agree that his return was definitely surprising. I take issue with Triple H's comment about Ron's return being, quote, part of the show. To me, it's an insult because I always thought that certain things in pro wrestling should remain a mystery. Just like The Rock's comment to Dave LaGreca when he told Dave that, quote, wrestling is a complete work and that Dave shouldn't get so worked up about it. No pun intended. That's a whole thing. I mean, that The Rock has done nothing. Every single time he's opened his mouth for the last 6 months, he's done nothing but bury himself. I mean, like, outside of, okay, I'll say this. Since the Elimination Chamber, The Rock has done nothing but hurt himself and the company every time he opens his mouth. Every single time. However, besides Triple H's stupid comment, in my opinion, I do like Ron's return. And from the looks of it, this past Monday at Raw, Ron is not going to be back to the R-Truth gimmick. Ron is someone that is real, unapologetic, and not cookie cutter entertaining like the R-Truth gimmick. My only question is, with the selling of Ron's new merch at WWE Shop, what is his destination? Does he go back to feuding with Cena, presumably after the Night of Champions or SummerSlam? Or does he interrupt every weekly episode of Raw and get back on the mic to speak his truth? That's a tough call. Again, I hope it's for an eventual title run with Ron Killings. As I've said, even if he wins it, which I've been advocating for R-Truth to win the belt for years now, but I stand by it shouldn't be a long reign. It could even be 24 hours. I would even take a 24-hour title reign to say he was champion and the fans go crazy, but he drops it the next night, or if it's a Saturday, he drops on a Monday night. That's fine. Or a month. But I would say if Ron Killings wins the championship, it won't be beyond a 3-month run. Just based on his age, he can't work at the rate he used to. He's 53 years old. I do hope it does result in a championship run, world championship run. I truly hope for the man that it does. He is deserving of it. The fans, as long as this Ron Killings character doesn't have a disconnect with the fans and it's able to continue the connection he had with the R-Truth character, I think that you're going to have, just the fans loving the moment. And I hope that, I really hope that for Ron Killings as a human being. But SummerSlam, I mean, I don't know. They might get to it right away. I would say if Ron Killings gets a championship sooner than later, then he probably won't win the championship, because John Cena dropping the championship likely has more implications down the line. Like, meaning whoever he drops it to, they have a plan in place already. And Ron Killings being brought back, which is 100% because of the fans, is throwing a wrench in their plans. So they didn't expect this to happen with Ron Killings, I would imagine. And if they didn't, then how are they going to manage the R-Truth scenario, the Ron Killings scenario? Because if John Cena is going to drop the belt, should he do it to Truth? And then that's actually what you could do. They may thread the needle that way. where John Cena and R-Truth have their championship match at, say, I don't know, SummerSlam. R-Truth wins. He has a month run. John Cena wins it back very quickly. And then, he ends up dropping the belt to whoever the actual person was going to be in October, November, December when John Cena is about to leave. And then John Cena could become an 18-time world champion. There is that too. So put a little distance between him and the next person, which of course has no chance of catching him. I mean, Randy Orton's the only real person who has a chance. Even Randy Orton, I don't think will. But last 2 points. If you're not familiar with Ron Killings' character, as a suggestion, check out TNA's video called The Complete History of Ron Killings in TNA. It's on YouTube. Some of what Ron said this past Raw is almost identical to some of the promos he cut back in TNA in the mid-2000s. Okay, I will. Good stuff. Mr. Iguana. That's right, Mr. Iguana from Lucha Libre AAA. The wrestler dressed in an iguana with an iguana sock puppet is getting that WWE exposure. There's a possibility from the rumors that I've read that WWE is looking to bring him officially to the Raw roster. In my opinion, he's kind of weird. Wrestler with sock puppet, but for all the years I've watched wrestling, and it's been close to 20, I've seen some incredibly weird things. Thank you, DJ. I honestly know nothing about Mr. Iguana. I actually thought Mr. Iguana was some celebrity when they put him in the crowd. I didn't look at the name tag or who or what he was. I just go, oh, okay. Like, people are talking about Mr. Iguana. I really didn't know who he was. Never heard his name ever. I thought he was like some weird celebrity from, I don't know, some celebrity Hollywood guy that's like a gimmick. So the fact that he's from AAA, look, we had Santino Marella with the snake. All right. We've had some weird stuff, and it was successful because you take it for what it is. So I really don't have any opinion yet on Mr. Iguana because I really thought I didn't know he was a wrestler. So there's that. Thanks, DJ. All right. A couple more. Let's talk to Tommy. And Tommy says, remember that King of the Ring winner in 2024 where Gunther and Nia Jax, both of them went on to win their respective brand championships at SummerSlam. You said on the Raw review you didn't want wrestlers developing British accents with the throne and no meaning, but both went on to have significant title runs and due to the Queen and King of the Ring. Yes, thank you. I addressed that at the beginning of the show. It totally went over my head about the fact that, yes, King and Queen of the Ring winners do get title shots at SummerSlam, and both Nia and Gunther won last year. Thank you. Really. But okay, so Paul Levesque is becoming unbearable. He comes across as smug and arrogant towards the fans, boosting of social media clicks, gate, and PLE revenue, and trying to outsmart and outplay the fans. Also, please stop opening PLEs. Just start with the wrestling and with the ring announcer. It is Triple H who does the opening credits, then, now, and forever. I've only just noticed it, to be honest. Yeah, Triple H has soured in the minds of a lot of fans for a lot of different reasons, and I really don't. I don't want to hate Triple H. I don't on a personal level. He does what he's got to do. He's getting feedback from TKO board. He's got seemingly some tension with The Rock. He's also trying to not give fans too much power, even though we do have a lot that they're trying to downplay. And yeah, but I would say, regardless of all that, why are they throwing in our face how much money we're giving the company? I've never understood that. The fans, and I keep pointing this out too, the WWE on air will talk about in the ring on a microphone about how much money they made, or that rather they've talked about how this is the largest gate in company history, and the fans cheer it. Do they understand what they're cheering for? That they are collectively the part of a group that has given WWE more money than they've ever had at a singular event? How are you cheering that? Why is it? It's like, yay, we're part of a group that gave you the most money ever for a single event. Isn't that great? Here's more money. I'd boo that. Be like, F you, dude. That's stuff you do you want to tout that stuff? Absolutely, you should boast about it. But you do it at stockholder, shareholder meetings, maybe in a press release. You don't do it in front of fans who are stupid enough to cheer for it. If you want to tout attendance, fine. You want to talk about how, in attendance, if you're in a record-setting crowd for an attendance number, fine. But you don't cheer or tell fans that they're part of a group that gave them the most money ever for a single event. Why would you do that? Maybe it's part of just WWE trolling the fans, knowing that they'll cheer for themselves because they'll take any opportunity to cheer for themselves. And WWE management backstage is meanwhile probably getting a knee slapping laugh. Like, these idiots are cheering for themselves about giving us money. Like, it's so stupid. And as far as, like, I don't need Triple H at the beginning of every major event, and he'll do it at SummerSlam, Survivor Series. He can't help himself at WrestleMania. He does it even at B-level pay-per-views. I don't need Triple H coming out anymore to give us nothing as part of some kind of just, I need to get in front of the fans itch. Bro, you gave that up a long time ago. And if you're not out here to give some kind of, like, you're not giving us major breaking news, you're just out here clearly just to be out here to say, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Welcome to SummerSlam. Welcome to wrestling. Shut up, dude. We know what we're watching. Yeah, I don't need that. I even when Triple H was beloved by fans not too long ago, I hated it. I don't need anyone coming out there, especially Triple H at the beginning of every PLE telling us, hey, yeah, welcome to the... It's like, okay, why are you out here, man? Yeah, thanks. Bye. Goodbye. I don't know. Thank you. Thanks, Tommy. Okay. Another email here. This, I'm not sure who this is. We'll read it. Hey, it's me. Or not, hey, it's me. It's my first time emailing. Oh, it's Ryder from Phoenix. Okay. For my 16th birthday, I got really good seats for Monday Night Raw. Been listening to the podcast for a year and a half, and you do a great job. Well, thank you. Thoughts from in person. The Raw was great. Match of the night had to go to the Fatal 4-Way with Dom, Braun, Penta, and Sammy. My dad booed Dom when he came out at the end of the match, but I like Dom. I guess you like Dom because he gets his ass kicked and you feel bad for him. CM Punk is my favorite wrestler, and second is Gunther. When Punk came out, I screamed like a little girl. The crowd pop for Punk was electric. Can't wait for the promos and match with Punk and Cena. I'm so happy Gunther reclaimed the title. I was the only one cheering for Gunther and lost it when he won. Such a badass. Yeah, Punk and Cena, I'm excited for that. I mean, Night of Champions is going to be great. I know I alluded to Punk, Cena and Ron Killings at Night of Champions. Obviously, no. Cena and Cena and Killings at SummerSlam is the only possible next step. But CM Punk and John Cena at Night of Champions should be awesome. And the promos have yet to really explode here. I hope they get better, and they will. But good. I'm glad you enjoyed Raw. I really don't. I don't boo Dom because he gets his ass kicked and I feel bad for him. I actually am starting to like Dom because I'm tired of disliking him. He's just kind of this lovable loser. This chicken nugget thing is actually helping him. He's this skeezy guy that actually you kind of find funny now. The hatred is starting to wane. People are tired of booing. He's had how many years of being booed? It's out of our systems. But no, I don't hate Dom. Not like I did back when he was teaming with his dad and they were just, he was just this guy riding his dad's coattails and they were hugging and kissing backstage every time before a match. I hated that version of Dom. But since he kicked his dad in the nuts a few years ago, I mean, he's been on fire since. The kicking his dad in the nuts is the biggest thing that's ever happened to Dom in his life, professionally. So, thank you, Ryder. Glad you enjoyed Raw. Well, that may do it for the emails. I think that is. So, let's get to those voicemails and see what you guys have to say this week.
This is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag show. Record you live on a Wednesday morning, and you know what time it is. It's time to
say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry.
That's right, folks. Joe Hendry is his name as I take it to my 40th episode of the George Report. And like always, coming to you live from an undisclosed location. Now let's take it to a TV taping of TNA Pro Wrestling from last week, in which we got an appearance of Joe Hendry as he breaks his silence after dropping the TNA World Championship to Trick Williams from NXT Battleground. We see in this pre-recorded segment a very sad, a very depressed Joe Hendry as he tells the fans that he is sorry for letting them down, for letting the TNA Universe down after this loss to Trick Williams, an outsider, by the way. And then he also goes on to say that at one point, when he was the TNA World Champion, Joe Hendry felt that he was unstoppable, on top of the world, making appearances at the Royal Rumble, having a matchup against Randy Orton at WrestleMania 41, and making frequent appearances on podcasts to promote the TNA brand. But now that he's no longer the champion, he feels lost and he doesn't know where to go. And then, of course, he also mentions that he wishes Elijah good luck, because Elijah was also going to have a match against Trick Williams for the TNA World Championship at Against All Odds. But then to add insult to injury, here comes the self-proclaimed king of TNA, Mr. Frankie Kazarian, as he interrupts Joe Hendry and tells him that he was a failure, a big failure for TNA, and that he's going to embarrass him at Against All Odds. And speaking of Against All Odds, let's get to that event, folks, as this event took place on June 6th, live from Tempe, Arizona. We had this matchup of Joe Hendry versus Frankie Kazarian. This was the 6th match on the card. This match lasted 12 minutes and 43 seconds, as throughout the course of this match, Frankie Kazarian was targeting Joe Hendry's left leg as he was trying to injure Joe Hendry to possibly get the victory over Joe Hendry. But even though Frankie Kazarian tried to injure Joe Hendry's left leg, Joe Hendry was still able to do the fallaway slam a couple of times, but then he tried to do the standing ovation on multiple attempts, and it did not work. We fast forward to the end of this match, a very controversial finish, after when Joe Hendry and Frankie Kazarian were trading punches in the right corner of the ring. We see Frankie Kazarian slip underneath Joe Hendry and hits a chop block to Joe Hendry's left knee, and then he goes for the most devastating finisher of all time in professional wrestling, the roll-up, as he uses his own legs as leverage to get the full count in 1, 2, 3. Frankie Kazarian defeats Joe Hendry, as Joe Hendry is now 0-2. 0-2 with 2 losses. And now where does Joe Hendry go from here? As now we are turning the page to Slammiversary in July. Does Joe Hendry find a way to get another matchup against Frankie Kazarian, or does he move on to face somebody else in TNA? But right now, this is a very dark time, a very depressing time for Joe Hendry. Now, hopefully, he'll get back on his feet. And by the way, in the main event for the TNA World Championship, it was Trick Williams versus Elijah, but Elijah could not finish the deal either, as he lost in 16 minutes and 17 seconds as Trick Williams retained the TNA World Championship. We also want to turn the page to a very interesting development, folks. We all know that the King of the Ring tournament has just been announced, and interesting enough that on the next episode of Monday Night Raw, live from Green Bay, Wisconsin, we have a first round fatal 4-way, and that is going to include Rusev, that is going to include Sheamus, Bronson Reed, and a mystery opponent. Now I'm thinking, let's just say this mystery opponent could possibly be maybe main event Jey Uso, after when he dropped in his World Heavyweight Championship to Gunther. Maybe he may be the mystery opponent. Or what about Ron Killings, the newly added Ron Killings? Could he be the mystery opponent in this fatal 4-way in the first round? Or what about my guy, Mr. Joe Hendry, could possibly be this mystery opponent in this fatal 4-way for next week in the King of the Ring first round for the men's tournament. Always remember to believe, say his name, always remember the words that Joe Hendry says, anytime, any place, at any show, and most importantly, always remember to do this.
Wave your hands from side to side and say, oh, I believe in Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry is so prestigious.
Once again, this is your guy, DJ Kuzmo. Have a blessed week. Be kind to one another. Stay safe, my friends. Believe and peace.
Well, DJ, thank you for the continued analysis of Joe Hendry and Frankie Kazarian and their program going on. And hey, look, Joe Hendry's going to have his ups and downs. He's certainly still a hot commodity, but it's going to ebb and flow. We all know that. He can't stay hot forever. But again, we're all looking forward to that main roster debut, and I'm talking about a permanent main roster debut. We'll see when that happens. Perhaps it is SummerSlam. Maybe he makes his full debut at that point. But the Ron Killings, potentially mystery being that fourth guy, I think is actually probably the right call. in Green Bay, Wisconsin for Raw. I think Ron Killings could be the guy to be that fourth person. But whoever that fourth person is, I think is going to be the one to win. I mean, it could be main event Jey Uso, but I think if you were to ask me, people are a little bit tired of main event Jey Uso versus Gunther for the world title. Even if you're a Gunther supporter or a Jey Uso supporter, we've kind of had our fill right now for Gunther and Jey Uso. So thank you, DJ, for your analysis and continued updates on the world of wrestling outside of just the main roster in WWE. Okay, let's go to, I think, Kyle here.
Hey, it's Kyle. So I wanted to talk about the Chris Money in the Bank. I thought, having Seth winning was the right outcome. I know a lot of people didn't like that he went to LA Knight. I don't know what people see at LA Knight personally. I just think I don't get the appeal of the guy. But I'm glad that Rollins won. Naomi winning, I think she could have benefited to just face Tiffany Stratton straight up. I don't think she really needed the briefcase, but I guess people thought that way about Rollins, that he doesn't need the briefcase. I thought the way about Naomi of her not really needing the briefcase, but it is what it is. Don't hate Naomi. I do want her to be the champion at some point because her character is really cool. I'm sure where it goes. But I enjoyed the men's match a little bit more, and the women's was like, unfortunately, but yeah, I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed Becky winning the championship. I don't know where Bayley is. Maybe she comes back tonight and making this call before Raw, so who knows. Also making this call before Raw to cash it tonight or not. I don't know if we will, but we'll see. I don't know what they're going to do moving forward with Jey or even Gunther. What's next with both of them in particular, no matter who walks out as champion or even if Seth walks out as champion. What's next with both of them? Because I feel like, yes, Jey's super over, but he's not really on that finally interesting. Well, and what's going to happen with Gunther ultimately as well? Since Rollins isn't really much the main guy they're focusing on Raw and the main event scene every single week because of the fast retreat breaker and Heyman, and Reed. So I don't know, we'll see what happens, but how that's going to happen with Gunther in particular, what's he going to do moving forward, who knows. But I hope Rollins does become champion. I don't know what will happen tonight, but at some point, maybe he'll catch it at SummerSlam. Maybe that's the direction. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But that's the Thanks for my call. Bye.
Yeah, as far as Rollins winning, Kyle, I do think he'll become champion. It's going to be a little while, though. Why? You don't want to put the belt right back on Gunther to have another heel take it. If you're going to give it back to Gunther and correct course, which is what this is, it's a correct course decision from the fans and management kind of feeling like, it doesn't really feel right. You're not going to have him then drop it to Seth. You're going to give Gunther a little bit of a run here, 3, 4, 5, 6 months before you decide to have Seth do it. Now, Seth could also cash in on the other side because WWE doesn't seem to give a damn about brand splits. And I hear that there's going to be a draft in September, October, something along those lines. Who knows? The draft means nothing, as we all know, for all the reasons I've outlined for years, that they don't care about the draft rules. They still say they do, and then literally that night or a week later, they violate their own rules. We all know that there's no consequence for anybody coming over, all the rest. We've heard it all. Remember the wild card rule or the quarterly invitation, all this weird stuff. Remember Vince even couldn't keep things together. So the draft means nothing, but my point about this all is, regardless of the draft, Seth could cash in on the other side. Doesn't have to be for the world title. It could be for the Undisputed Championship on SmackDown. So we got to keep that in mind because we all know it doesn't matter. So if it is on Raw, though, and the world title does stay on Raw with whatever happens with this draft, then, again, you got to give Gunther a longer run. Have Seth carry that for a while because it's fun with Heyman and Rollins claiming they have the power. They could cash in at any time. They're dangling this over all of our heads and wondering when he's going to cash in. So I think it's going to be a while. I hope it is. I hope it's not until maybe even the calendar changes to 2026. So thank you, Kyle, and hope all is well. One more. Let's do one more.
Hey, it's the Waz from the Indianapolis area. I just wanted to answer your question of how we might be feeling about all the advertisements on the ring and every bare space that they have. Maybe it's a little too much. I don't know. I feel like if you watch a boxing match, professional boxing match, or a professional mixed martial arts like UFC, you're going to see all that advertisement all over everything. You go to the ballpark, like MLB game, you're going to see advertisements everywhere. Even at NFL and NBA games, they have advertisements. Maybe not right on the floor necessarily or right in the middle of the field, but they do have them. And I don't really care. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And it only takes me away when I just notice it and then I'm right back into the match. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. Money in the Bank, real predictable. It was okay. There was a couple great spots. Other than that, I'm waiting for them to do something special and they haven't done it in a while. That's all I got. Later. Hey, I know I'm breaking the rules by calling in twice, but I had something that I wanted to say, and the whole thing with R-Truth, I really think that they did not have that plan. I really do think that that was completely something they heard the fans, they didn't just and they thought they could make it work. But besides that, with Seth Rollins winning, I want to put a prediction. Monday night, when we have the ring general, however you say that accent, Gunther take on Jey Uso, I think neither of them are going to walk out of Monday night with the title. I think that it's a good chance that Seth's going to turn in his Money in the Bank, and he's going to become the new heavyweight champion. Also, I predict that Naomi is not going to be successful whenever she does turn it in. They've been pushing this. Every woman has been successful cashing in quite a bit over the last few weeks, and so I think that's telling that they're probably not going to let her cash in. So I got the Waz. I'm out.
Waz, good to hear from you, buddy. Hope all is well. And yeah, don't worry about it. Your voicemails were pretty short, so stitching them together wasn't a big deal. Some good thoughts here. So the advertisement thing about your first voicemail, I don't like it. You seem to be not as bothered by it. I know a lot of fans aren't liking it, but it's one of those things that I think WWE is just going to be like, yeah, the fans will get used to it. And sure, boxing has it, UFC has it, not to this extent. And also, that's kind of what made WWE better in terms of presentation is like there wasn't advertising all over the ring, all over the canvas, all over the apron, all over our screens, having the wrestlers do spots about the advertising and whoever their sponsors are, and having sponsored ladders and sponsored tables and like the gear that they wear is going to be sponsored pretty soon. Like it's too heavy-handed for me. That's how WWE has brings them a lot of their revenue, and I understand that, but there comes a point where it really hurts the presentation, and I know that WWE is counting on just us getting used to it. We'll complain for a little while, and then we'll just get used to it, which is going to be the case for a significant portion, but it doesn't make it better. I don't think it enhances the production value of the wrestling itself, of the storylines. It shouldn't distract us at all, and it does. Even you said you're like, oh, I notice it, and then I go back to it, but that kind of breaks your concentration on what should be going on in the ring. And I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I will never concede that it's a good idea from a production standpoint, from of just a purely fan perspective. I despise it, but I understand it. See, two things can be true at once here. I understand it, but I don't like it. That doesn't mean it shouldn't be done. It just means it's an unfortunate reality of how they're trying to make money right now. And so it's a mix, but I can see two perspectives here. And again, they're both true. Anyway, I heard your predictions for Raw. Obviously, they didn't come true with Rollins. I just talked about how Rollins should go several months into maybe even the new year, maybe all the way to WrestleMania and have another heist of the century. Very possible. I have no qualms about Seth Rollins holding that for a while over everyone's heads, over every champion's head. But it's not time right now for him to do this. Especially if you corrected course with Gunther, you're not going to give it to Seth immediately. While Seth should carry it, I have no doubt he will carry it and should. because of the group he's putting together, and it's helping build new stars, the two new Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. It's not time yet because of the timing of the championships. You have John Cena, who is about to retire in 6 months, and he'll drop it. Of course, he'll drop it before he leaves. But then you have, Gunther, who just won it back. It's not quite time yet. You could have John Cena get cashed in by Rollins, but again, they're both heels. You're not going to do heel-to-heel transfer of championships. That very rarely happens. So until a babyface is a champion, you're probably not going to do it. Or you have a babyface who's about to win the championship and then it gets transferred to Seth. You could do it that way. But again, heel-to-heel transfers of titles is pretty rare. Not impossible, but not very likely. So I think we have to wait till we have a standing babyface champion for Seth to cash in, which again, he has 12 months to do. So we got a lot of time. I don't know if has anyone ever gone the distance from PLE to PLE? I don't know. Again, I don't know if anyone ever should, because when someone's going to cash it in. If they haven't cashed it in yet and it's been nearly 12 months, they're going to cash it in at the following Money in the Bank. So, I mean, there's risks with that, but I don't know if anyone's gone the distance of a full year. I wonder what the longest is. I don't know. As far as your prediction with Naomi not winning, I hope not, because not only does it keep the streak alive for the women, but it also is deserving for Naomi, who has really found herself here. I love her character. The fans are reacting appropriately to it, not cheering, but booing her. But she's inherently unlikable, but 10 times more interesting than her Glow character was for how many years. There's something you could do with that there. There really is. So I hope she's successful when she cashes in. My guess is that Naomi cashes in before Seth. If you're going to put money on it, that's where my money would be. So thank you, Waz. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, emailing. If you want to go ad-free, patreon.com/WWE podcast is the place to go. Or on Apple Podcasts, you can just go ad-free right there. On Spotify as well. It's all the places to go. So thank you, everybody. I'll be back on Sunday with your week in review. Again, happy Father's Day to everybody out there. And I'll talk next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.